Good morning, and thank you for joining us at the Waiʻanae Marine Science Program session. We'd like to remind everyone that today's presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the event website. Please keep all cameras off and all microphones muted throughout the session if you would not like to be recorded. Computer-generated closed captions are available by pressing the CC button towards the bottom of this video feed. Please note that live computer-generated captions may not always accurately reflect what is being said. Subtitled recordings and any resources shared by the speakers will be posted to the website 2 to 3 weeks after the event. If you have any questions for today's presenters, please add them to the chat box and a moderator will share your questions towards the end of the session. And that moderator is me. Hi, everybody. I'm Marianne Tabucci. I work with Hawaii P20. And today I will be introducing you to some very special teachers and students out at Waiʻanae High School as part of our Hawaii Pathways to Success Waiʻanae Marine Science Program partnership. Before we get started, I'd like to share a little bit of information, just some technical details about the kind of work that we've been doing with Waiʻanae High School. Following my very short slide presentation, Waiʻanae High School teachers will then take over, share exactly what they've been doing in their program, and we'll finish up with a panel presentation, including teachers and students from the program with audience Q&A as well. So as mentioned, I'm Marianne Tabucci. I work with Hawaii P20. Today, we're going to hear from three amazing teachers over at Waiʻanae High School, Katie, Tyson, and Dana. And they're going to basically just show you what they've been doing in practice, some of the stuff I'll tell you now. We have a partnership between a grant that I manage called the CTE Pathways to Success grant and Gear Up Hawaii. So part of this is really this blend between the work that Hawaii P20 and Gear Up Hawaii does. So if you're not familiar by now, Hawaii P20 is a statewide partnership that's led by the Executive Office on Early Learning, HIDO, and the UH system. And our entire purpose is to try to strengthen this education pipeline from early childhood through post-secondary education and training by utilizing data-informed decision-making, advocacy, and policy coordination. Gear Up Hawaii is a large federal grant that our office is privileged to help manage. Our current grant cycle is between 2018 to 2025. And what we've been able to do is utilize Gear Up funds to fund many of the activities that you're going to hear about in these next few slides. One of the things that Hawaii P20 has really shifted towards focusing on is this idea of career pathways. So this is the Pathways Summit. Usually we do a Pathways 101 session at a summit like this, but as it's been a few years that our summit's been running, we're hoping that by now you folks have some idea about just the major components of a wonderful career pathway. What we do is we try to support schools with improving academic achievement, increasing this likelihood of graduating high school, preparing students for college-level coursework, developing employability skills, and securing living wage jobs in Hawaii through the medium of career pathways at high schools. In this last year, our office actually merged with the Hawaii State Office of Career Technical Education. So now we have a little bit more oversight as to how Perkins funds are being managed across the state, which really enables us to work towards these 5 indicators of high quality pathways at schools across the state from K to 12. So speaking of what those indicators are, they are leadership structures and cross-sector partnerships, high quality learning and rigorous academics, work-based learning, college and career advising and counseling that are personalized to a student and the student's post-secondary or career goals, and then alignment with labor market demand. So that, again, our students who are born and raised in Hawaii, go to school in Hawaii, go to college in Hawaii, have jobs available in Hawaii that will allow them to stay here in Hawaii. So the project that I manage is called CTE Pathways to Success. And again, it's a project where we have project goals and we're completely funded at Waiʻanae High School through Gear Up Hawaii, which is wonderful because it allows us to provide as much funding as the school might need to provide as many opportunities to students as they can. This particular project has a specific project goals. The first is to ensure that students in grades 9 to 12 represent a cohort of students that are underrepresented in some way. So this could be low socioeconomic status. This could be first generation college student. This could be Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. But essentially, we're really focusing in on a high school cohort of students who could be in need of opportunities to provide more motivation to pursue a post-secondary activity, whether that's college, trade school, or credential that would allow students to, again, have these living wage jobs in Hawaii. Another part of our project is we really want to ensure that all students have access to on and off campus work-based learning and personalized college and career advising. We'd like to ensure that students, regardless of their background, have academic preparation opportunities to place into college level English and mathematics courses, because every post-secondary degree program requires some kind of college English and college math. We want to work with the students and the counseling team to ensure that students have every opportunity to navigate transitions to post-secondary opportunities successfully, whether that's through college application nights, FAFSA nights, bringing in program advisors from colleges across the state to speak with students about what their programs are like, doing campus visits, trying to take a lot of these opportunities that aren't always systemic in programs and ensuring that students have access to them rather than kind of leaving it up to the student to seek out counseling on their own. And then finally, ensuring that students have post-secondary advising support to persist not just through a first year of college, but through a second year of college as well, if that's the goal that they choose. Our target populations, again, we're looking at Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, neighbor island, rural remote areas, first generation college student, low SES. And right now, our programmatic makeup, we do have neighbor island schools, we do have rural remote schools. The majority of our schools are Title I. And if Title I is not a definition that you're familiar with, it means that more than half of the campus is considered at or below the poverty line. One of the big things that we do with our program, and that I think Waiʻanae High School really exemplifies, is we ensure that the students receive all of these opportunities as part of a cohort. So a cohort is a word that we use in education. It really just means a smaller learning community that all have shared learning experiences. So this group of kids, they all receive the same types of opportunities, interventions, really, again, to create systemic motivators for post-secondary experiences. We try to ensure that if an early college course is offered, that course is offered to everyone in the cohort. If tutoring is offered, it's offered to everyone in the cohort. We really try to ensure that the school team itself really thinks critically about what the progression of their cohort looks like from 9 to 12. What are these experiences that are specific for 9th grade that can be built upon in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, whether it comes to advising experiences or work-based learning or even off-campus experiences as well. So it is my pleasure now to allow Waiʻanae High School to speak to the work that they've been doing. And I am so pleased to introduce Dana, Katie, and Tyson to talk a little bit about the work they've been doing. And I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to turn them on and allow them to introduce themselves.
Aloha, I'm Dana Hapi. I'm currently the program director for the Marine Science Learning Center.
My name is Katie Kealoha. I'm the Marine Science English teacher as well as the coordinator for the Learning Center.
And I'm Tyson Arasato. I am the Marine Science teacher for the Marine Science Learning Center.
So some background about us. Both Tyson and I are graduates of the program. I graduated in 2006. He graduated in 2007. We each kind of have our own areas that we focus on, but we work as a team. And I'll let Ms. Hafi speak to some of the history of the program, and then we'll get into what learning centers actually are, what that means, and how it affects our program.
Okay, so the Marine Science Learning Center was started back in the late 80s, early 90s, with the concept of it being a magnet school. And because of our location adjacent to the ocean, it was decided that we would be the Marine Science Magnet School. The coordinator at that time, Susan Lum, had the vision to understand that in order to be a Marine Science Learning Center, one of the things that we needed to have was an aquaculture facility, because she saw that as an important aspect of marine science going forward. And so she was able to secure funding from the ledge to dig a well and to build the infrastructure. I was fortunate enough to come in from the beginning of the program, and I worked with her for many years, and then took over as the coordinator when she left in 1999. So we raise many different marine species. Our primary species is the seaweed. That's the one thing that we do market, which provides funding to help support student activities for the Learning Center. We also raise various marine species. We have native fish, we have a non-native shrimp, and the animal species are used for two things. They're used to provide nutrients for the seaweed that we raise, and they're also used as a teaching tool to teach kids to analyze water quality, to collect the data, look at the data, and think critically about what optimum levels should be and what strategies they would take to improve if conditions are not optimal.
That's a perfect transition. So we do have an introductory video that we're going to show that briefly explains what the students learn within our program, as well as what are some of the activities outside of that aquaculture facility that we do with students.
The Marine Science Learning Center at Waiʻanae High School is a program which seeks to engage youth from the Leeward Coast in hands-on, culturally relevant, and place-based curriculum focusing on marine science and aquaculture. The Learning Center is the only school on Oahu with direct access to a saltwater aquaculture facility, as well as varied intertidal ecosystems on and off campus. For the Learning Center, the aquaculture facility is a key part of our science and career curriculum. The students learn the basics of water chemistry and biological processes by monitoring plant and animal systems, collecting water quality data, and learning about how different processes and parameters can impact the growing environment for different species. In the facility, students participate in regular maintenance of a few target species. Students grow Gracilariatic vaiae, known as ogo or seaweed, as a product that is sold to community members and local markets. They also monitor and maintain shrimp and fish systems. The shrimp are harvested each year for the students to prepare and share with their families. Students also learn about aquaponics and ways in which backyard systems can be set up to provide both protein and vegetable foods. Students also utilize the aquaculture facility to learn personal responsibility and explore questions of interest. As juniors, they participate in a guided inquiry project and learn the basics of each system. Then for senior year, they design a capstone project which they independently set up, monitor, and report on. In working in the aquaculture facility, students learn not only about science or growing species, but also about professional skills needed to succeed in a variety of settings. Teamwork, communication, and personal responsibility are emphasized. Students also utilize natural environments within our community to learn skills such as species identification, surveying, and safe and ethical handling of animals. In order to understand the importance of aquaculture, agriculture, and the skills they're learning in school, the Marine Science Learning Center focuses heavily on learning experiences off campus. Students learn about watersheds, climate change, and food systems, and participate in service learning in both community areas as well as across the island. They also participate in a week-long aquaculture workshop to help them better understand what careers in marine science or aquaculture look like, and the skills that they require. Students get hands-on experiences in service learning and speak with professionals in the field about their day-to-day work life and the paths that led them to their career. The facility is currently being expanded with plans to add additional growing space for seaweed so that students can be paid to intern within the program and provide seaweed to more local spaces. Funding has also been allocated to build a native finfish hatchery, as well as to install an algae lab, which will allow students to learn more technical skills related to both aquaculture and other fields such as healthcare. As a Stupski Pathway program, our Learning Center has been able to add an early college course in zoology and is planning on incorporating more into our student experiences. We're learning new ways to enhance the work we do and to better prepare our students to take on their kuleana in an ever-changing world.
So as far as adding Stupski initiatives within our program, one of the big things that we're very excited about and able to launch this year was our early college initiative. So we provided Zoology 200 as well as a lab specifically to remove a really big barrier for our students when they get to college. A lot of our students may not major in science or have a science focus, but if they end up at a four-year university, those large science lectures and the lab that come with it can be really, really challenging. So we worked with Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology at UH to provide a course that was very hands-on. It had our students in mind, and it was super accessible for our students. This year, post-COVID, one of the lessons that we learned that we're taking forward to improve the experience is that attendance by the students and preparation for the class are not something that we can just assume. Just because they're a really strong student in high school doesn't mean they're prepared for some of that personal responsibility that they need to follow a syllabus, to make sure that they are aware of all of the deadlines and keeping track of it, and to support them to really just understand what college is like. Also, as a team, there's many of us. We also have an early college tutor specifically for the course. So assigning roles and following up with the kids, checking up on them, making sure all of their paperwork is in place, making sure that the funding is going where it goes, including working with our partners, because HIMB also has a separate grant to help them put on this course. So our goal to try and address those lessons and use it moving forward is to initiate summer ramp-ups and just pre-college workshops where we provide really specific instruction on areas that the students need for success, such as navigating La Lima, which is a big one. It's very different from their high school online type of platform. Going through syllabi, using planners, keeping up with deadlines, and trying to get them more familiar with organizational tools and just a better sense of what the responsibility is when you're in an early college program. Another initiative I'm going to let Tyson speak to is our Marine Science Club.
So in past years, how the program ran is students are only able to join the Marine Science Learning Center as juniors and seniors. So we saw that there was a gap there for underclassmen. So the initiative we took is we started a Marine Science Club. And it was only exclusively open to 9th and 10th graders. And those 9th and 10th graders who possibly wanted to get into the pathway when they become a junior and senior had an early head start in getting involved with the program. We've done things and worked on skills that they could use in other classrooms, but they can also bring with them when they become students in our classroom. So we've done things like working out in the facility. We've did fish dissection. We've worked with every species that they would normally only get a chance to work with if they were in our class as juniors and seniors. They actually get a head start and get to do those types of things. It's a great way for us to extend our reach and recruit, and also for just building relationships with them before they actually enter our class. So far, we have a regular attendance of about 6 to 8 students who are coming to meet every Mondays and Wednesdays with me after school for about 3 hours, where we hang out, we learn different topics and different concepts about water quality. They help us to maintain the facility. When we have extra work, like today, we're going to go outside and do some stuff we weren't able to get finished today. We're going to have them continue the work. And it's just overall been a really good resource for our, not only for them, but also for us. So it's a really good benefit for both the 9th and 10th graders that aspire to be in marine science, and also for me as their teachers to kind of get a head start in working with them.
I think one thing that we learned with that is just being patient, because at the beginning, attendance was super sporadic. We had maybe 2 students, but instead of saying, oh, this isn't going to work, Tyson really stuck with it. He engaged those students. He reached out to more students, and it's built to the point where now he has a really solid relationship with those. I think they're all 9th graders. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those 9th graders, and now when they come in as 10th graders, it'll be a much stronger experience for the new students and the returning students, because they are comfortable with him, they know him, and they have those experiences. Our goal for moving forward with the club in the future is to get more students involved, but also to try to support them further on the academic side so that they can come into their junior and senior year in a stronger position. So instituting things like grade checks for larger activities, such as like an overnighter, and incorporating academic skills that we know students are often lacking when they come to us as juniors and seniors. So math, science, English, putting those into those fun hands-on activities and kind of monitoring how they're doing, so that if a student is coming through our program and we know that they have a certain weakness, we've already started addressing it before they come in, before they're worried about taking any kind of college entrance exams or anything like that. So that's something that we hope to add going forward. Okay, another initiative for Stupski that Stupski has really helped us focus on. We've always had work-based learning in this course because it is a career and technical education course, and we have that aquaculture facility. So we've always provided those on-campus work skills through the maintenance of this facility and the student projects. We are currently or have been in the process of expanding the facility. We've received multiple grants to purchase additional tanks and materials that we would need to have more systems online so that our production can increase to the point where we could actually hire students as interns. One of the things that we've learned through doing this over the years, and as we've looked at it more critically, is that supervision is going to be key. Like really looking at it as a teacher and a supervisor. So teaching those workplace skills individually and setting them up for success by being able to monitor how they're showing those skills, which skills they need to work on, so that they're leaving us with a really realistic view of what's going to be required from them in the workforce, whatever field they end up in. So our goal to continue to build on that is to not only have them intern with us, but to connect to other community organizations where our higher level students, as they go through the Marine Science Club, as they come through our class and they've gotten this wealth of knowledge and experiences, rather than having them continue in the same types of responsibilities that they have in the normal day-to-day at school, have them apply those skills outside of our school. So looking for future internship sites is one of the things we would like to do to give our students a wider berth of experiences. Another area of Stupski that they've really got us to laser in on and try to think critically about how we're doing is providing that career specific counseling and that individual counseling. So we have over the past 6 to 8 years used an aquaculture workshop on island to expose students to a variety of career pathways. One thing that we've been learning or that we know from our experience is that students often wait too long to plan for after high school. They will have an idea of what they want, but not necessarily feel confident or empowered to go through the key steps, completing their FAFSA, completing school applications, applying for scholarships. They're often really motivated though when we do take them out to meet professionals. They want to understand salary requirements. They want to know like what would I get paid in this career? What is it like? What's your day-to-day responsibilities and how do I get there? So for them to see those careers is one thing, like, oh, it is possible for me to work at a fish pond and get paid as my career. It is possible for me to be outside every day as my career. But for them to also understand what are the steps they have to take to get there. So our goal is to try and increase their access to professionals, create multiple points within the year where they're connecting to these professionals and can have those more extended conversations and explore those careers they're interested in. And also within our program and the Marine Science Club as well, building in those conversations of what are you interested in doing? What type of day-to-day job do you think you would enjoy? What type of skills do you have? Okay, well, if that's what you're interested in, do you know what it takes to get there? So having those conversations and connecting them with resources early, so they're not leaving us and still going, well, I thought I had a plan, but I didn't realize I needed all of these different things. Okay, so we have actually with us 4 seniors today, all of whom are awesome within our program. I'm going to go ahead and let them just say their name and introduce themselves before we get into the questions.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Izzy.
Hi, my name is Kylie.
My name is Desiree.
And my name is Princess.
These 4 seniors, sorry, they've been with us since their junior year. Last year, they had a fully virtual year. And this year was their first in-person year with our program.
Thank you again for joining us. So for our audience members, at this point, we are going to be shifting into the panel portion of the presentation. So we have some questions for the teachers, some questions for the students. I'll have the questions show up along the bottom of the screen, just so that you folks can follow along if necessary. And of course, if you as audience members hear anything that piques your interest, you want to learn more about, please put any additional questions in the chat and we'll address audience questions as soon as the panel questions are over. So first question for the teachers. I feel like I'm on a game show almost. So in your guys' work, coordinating the program, teaching the program, how did applying the Pathways to Success or STEPSKI project goals help you support your most marginalized students?
I think for us, we always, like our population is always majority marginalized students, but oftentimes we kind of view our work with them as just building them as much as we can within their 2 years. We don't really have a view of them from ninth graders to after high school. You know, we might have some conversations with them like, hey, what are you interested in? What are you doing next year? But it wasn't, I don't think, a key focus of the curriculum to really build them to have a plan. So I think for me, Stupski goals were super helpful in building that focus and supporting students who may have an interest or may have an ability, but wouldn't necessarily have the support to go through all of the different hoops they have to jump through and all of the different processes they have to be familiar with to get to what that goal is or use that skill that they have. You want to add?
Well, I think the resources that are available to us through Stupski has really helped us to be more focused in how we direct the students as they work towards their post-high school goals.
And provide more opportunities for them as well, such as not having so much emphasis on them fundraising for certain options or feeling as though early college is out of their reach, but that is right built in and easy for them to have access to.
I think the focus part is something, you know, Katie said that in multiple points during the slideshow, and that's really what Subski has done. We've had a lot of these elements kind of scattered throughout the curriculum and scattered throughout the year, but we're really able to focus it. And what I really like that we did is when we had that panel, so you've seen in some of the pictures, there's a panel during our workshop, and 2 of the 4 guest speakers were actually women. And I think it was really positive for our young women in our program to kind of hear their point of view and kind of go through the challenges of what that is to be marginalized and to be someone in the workforce that is predominantly male. And those types of questions came up a lot. So I was really happy that we were able to focus because, you know, that was a big point of focus is the women and the young women who are looking to get into the industry. What are some things that they need to know, and then what are some ways we can kind of mentor them through that program. And I think just that one example of what we did was really great, and it worked out really well. And I think that's something we want to do in the future, is always to make sure to include those types of voices of that can really relate to our students. And even on the other side, another speaker, he's from Waiʻanae, he's an alumni. So we always try and bring voices that the students can really relate to, right? And see people in their own community that went on in the industry, in the aquaculture industry, and be successful. I think Subski has helped us to make sure that that's a main point in our curriculum and everything that we do, is that we're always going to be speaking specifically towards those marginalized students.
Wonderful. And of course, I mean, we see that you brought 4 lovely young ladies behind you. Women in STEM. Women in STEM has been a huge conversation in our state, particularly science, technology, engineering, and math. So this next question is for you, students. How has this particular marine science program, you guys are just about finished with 2 years of it straight, how has it helped you envision your future after high school?
I feel like this marine science program has helped me envision my future for after high school by like instating so much discipline in how to get things done, like time management and just managing everything like organized and having it planned out.
Yeah. For me, this marine science helped me envision my life after high school or future. It helped me build relationships more easier. Feel like it made me feel more comfortable making new friends, and yeah.
It helped me to try new things, and when we went to the fish pond in Haiti or whatever, it made me want to do an internship there.
For my future after high school, it kind of created many different things for a lot of students. Like it helped, for one, a lot of students, they weren't really sure about this class, but then kind of getting to know what we do in the system and what we do with the teachers, they kind of like gain the connection with this class and wanting to be with it. And like we have days where we ask other people to come, and like us sharing our stories make them want to come as well.
It sounds as if you girls are saying that really being in this program has kind of established your confidence in being able to share with others about what you're learning and really start helping you to build that social network. So meeting these adults in the community, in the career, and then also within your own school campus as well. So thinking about other ways to build upon assets, this next question is for the teacher. So in what ways do you kind of identify that your program helps students identify and build upon their individual assets?
I really think that so many of our students have incredible talents that they don't recognize. They don't understand that this is a skill that I should be putting on my resume. And I think that what we try to do is we try to get them to understand that all of the skills that they take for granted, that they use every time they go out in the facility and they're measuring water quality, or they're maintaining an animal tank, or they're figuring out the feed rate, or they're calculating the growth rate of the species. These are all incredible skills that should be on their resume, that can be applied not just to aquaculture, but can be applied to many other ways. So I think it's just getting them to understand. And I think one of the things that really helps them get this concept in is when we go on the aquaculture workshop and we take them to these various places and they're working with these professionals in the field, and these professionals are blown away with what these kids know and what these kids are able to do. And I think that's a real confidence builder for them.
And I think in our community as well, a lot of students don't have a strong sense of academic pride. Like, they don't necessarily see themselves as smart when it comes to school. But if you put a problem in front of them, they can figure it, especially if it's a hands-on, whether it's an engineering problem, whether it's observing something, they have a way of looking at things and they have these really good hands-on strengths. So when you're able to take them fishing and they know how to do everything and they can help somebody else, or you put them outside and you pose a question or a problem to them and they're able to look at it and figure it out, it lets you as a teacher say, I know you're struggling with this reading right now, but you know about this because I saw you just kill it on that field trip, or I saw you, demonstrate that you understood this in your project. Let's make the connection between what you're physically doing and what you're really comfortable in, and show you that you're really knowledgeable about it and it can apply in an academic setting. So I think having the academics connect to something that is very concrete, that they can demonstrate physically, they can see how their strengths are transferable, and that there's not just the individual side, like the academic side of paper, pencil, bookwork, doing math problems, but really life is about solving problems in real life, real, relevant, place-based things that they're going to be doing. Their career isn't really going to care how long they can sit and read a book unless they're going to be a teacher or something like that. It's going to care, can they solve a problem? Can they communicate clearly about what they see, what they notice, and then use that information and apply it somewhere else?
I would add just really simply that these guys, these students, they have an advantage of being in control a lot of their curriculum. So they have a lot of say in what they learn and how they learn it. And Katie is constantly, every quarter, really reevaluating, okay, this is what we did. How did you guys like it? Do you guys think it can be improved? What for fourth quarter? What do you guys want to learn? And it really gives the students a voice in what they're going to be taking on. If they want to do catch and cook, you guys saw pictures of us doing with DAR representative coming out on the reef and teaching us these things. That was brought about because we had a conversation with the kids and we asked them, what are some things that you guys are interested in that can be related to marine science, but not something that is just only here in the aquaculture facility? And that was the first kind of idea they came up with. And then we went through the planning and we got all the preparation for them. But they really have this really good advantage of being able to say, I like to fish. I want to know more about the reef in my community. And then being able to have, the staff to plan that. So that's what real, if you want to talk about how can they build on their individual skills, that's because they're letting us know this is what we want to do and this is what we're good at and this is what we want to refine. And many of their projects has also done the same. So their capstone projects as a senior is something that they take on, that they're going to be personally responsible for. And the buy-in from them is greater because we're not assigning them, you need to do tilapia, you need to do shrimp, and you're going to do seaweed. No, during the planning stages as a junior, they are letting us know this is what I'm interested in, and this is why I like to eat ramen. And when I eat ramen, I like to have bok choy. So I want to know how to grow bok choy at home. That's an example of a project that a senior did this year, and it built upon her individual skills and her interests, and that's where you really see the growth in the student when they have a real initiative in what they're learning.
Thank you so much for sharing. It sounds as if your program really incorporates lots of opportunity for students' voice and choice, which, as we all know, is best practice for students being motivated to succeed in school. So, speaking of being successful in school, for our students, some of you mentioned a little bit earlier with the previous student question, but if you could expand upon it, how does this marine science program help you guys build on your interests and skills to be successful in school in general?
This marine science program helps me build on my interests and skills to be successful in school by making me want to attend school more often. This program is like very interesting, and once I stepped into this classroom or program, these teachers, it made me feel very welcome and comfortable. I really like the hands-on learning that we do a lot. We go on field trips a lot. And it also helps me, like I said, build relationships. And I also think it's good so I can build connections for my future, internships or jobs.
The marine science program has helped me build on interests because not only was I able to conduct an experiment by creating an aquaponics system, it also helped me think about how there are different ways to be sustainable in Hawaii, and I want to push forward that in the future.
For me, I don't want to have a career in after school with science, but it makes me want to become a teacher because the way they hold themselves accountable, the way they help students, the way they push us to do what we have to do. Like Izzy said, they helped us keep us sustainable and to know what to do and how to problem solve.
I'm not sure.
It's okay.
She heard you.
I really appreciate the effort of everyone trying to chime in. Thank you so much. So your teachers and yourselves, you guys mentioned a lot of different opportunities for you folks to kind of incorporate some of the stuff that we do here in our daily life. Like I eat bok choy with my ramen. Like how do I grow bok choy? Or you guys said also in your video that you guys provide seaweed to a variety of places in your community. So in your folks' opinion, how does your program support these young people with connecting with their own cultural practices through your program?
Yeah. So I think for us, the fact of being in Hawaii, it wouldn't necessarily matter what our population is, but then to have Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students being the majority of our students, I think it's so important to incorporate a cultural worldview and to not just come from the lens of Western science, but also acknowledge indigenous science and how indigenous cultural practices are really science-based and the skills overlap to a large degree. So within the science curriculum, when we talk about making observations, we start with kilo. We start with the Hawaiian vocabulary and thinking about, in our day-to-day life, just like with the aquaculture farm, you have to observe and pay attention, but to also bring in, your kupuna were so entrenched in it that these are the skills they could have. They could look up at that mountain and know what the weather is going to be. They would look at the moon to decide what they're going to do when they go fishing. So having those things built in our English curriculum, we look at Hawaiian legends. We look at things that are related to Hawaii and related to those things and look for what are the values that they're teaching us? How do those values connect to what we're doing now? What are people currently doing in our community to demonstrate those values? Like what organizations, the school volunteer with some organizations, I learn about how they're using, traditional methods to be sustainable for our future. So I think having those cultural things built in when we go on our aquaculture workshop, making sure we're visiting fish ponds as equally as we're visiting farms, like more newer age farms. As well, because we go to those places, because we go to fish ponds and things like that, having a cultural protocol that the students learn so that they can be confident stepping into those spaces. A lot of times they're not fully confident. Like if they had to maybe chant by themselves, they would shy away from it. But they have an opportunity to do it together, to be uplifted, to learn something specific to their culture and community that's a part of their learning, not separate from it. So I think that that's really, really important for us.
Yeah, I would say that the cultural aspects in our classes is nothing new, nothing that new that we incorporated. When Dana was the teacher and me and Katie were students, it's something that we practice all the time, and it's something that was a mainstay in our class. And I'm glad that we were able to keep that culture component as strong. You know, when we meet in the mornings, it's very unique because we meet, we have juniors and seniors, we combine them together for the first 10 minutes. We meet, we do morning announcements, and we end with doing a protocol that kind of just starts us off on the day. What I really appreciate about it is it's not denominational. It's not favoring one type of practice or belief over the other. It's for us to join as one and kind of be one ohana. So I always tell the kids, you cannot really judge our class and base it on put your other classes and your teachers. We have something that's very special and unique. We're more like a family the way we operate. And without that cultural aspect, I don't know if we can really uphold that feeling and that sense of ohana that we have here. And it's something that it's a deal breaker for me. It's something that has to stay in our class and be a part. And it's something that you just, especially after coming back from the pandemic, teachers, counselors, and admin have come and asked us, like, how were you guys able to kind of get back into the groove a lot quicker than other classes on campus? And I would tell them the same thing. You cannot really judge what we judge or like pit other classes against ours, because we have a really unique way that we present the curriculum and the way that we operate. And it's a real advantage of being a part of the learning center and being a part of our classes. And we have this kind of this different vibe than most other classrooms operate. And I think that is just a testament to cultural practices. And it's not just Hawaiian, right? It's not just Western. We want to have a really global outlook, and we really try to. I think it's funny because during the pandemic, students have always chosen our class and our Google Meets to talk about kind of tough discussions like about vaccines and about things like that, because they feel more comfortable with us. And like every from the Red Hill water crisis and TMT, those are the types of things that when they come into class, they have this feeling, this sense of we build our own culture here, and they're not afraid to bring those types of issues to light and to talk about them and to ask and to learn about them here with us. And we couldn't be more thrilled, and we think that that's just such an important part of our class. And I wouldn't change having that. I really enjoy having that advantage.
I can't wait to hear more about that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Katie.
No, I would just add too, is similar to their own interests and skills that they have and bringing that to light. A lot of them don't realize the depth of cultural knowledge that they're practicing that's been handed down to them.
Mm-hmm.
Or we notice, like, very few of the kids know about limu because they might not have limu practitioners in their family. So bringing in, when we go and do reef surveys, what is this seaweed? How do people use it? When we're catching fish, okay, what are some ways that you would prepare this fish? Like, do people eat it? Do they not eat it? They can use their own knowledge from fishing or being around the ocean, and they can also learn something new as far as how it may have been done in the past. So I think that always makes it more interesting than just looking at a book. What's the scientific name? What are its characteristics? But what did you use it for? Can you eat it? Does it taste good? So I think that that's kind of key for us.
I know my noon alarm just went off too. I was like, it's time for lunch. Well, students, so your teachers have talked a big game about how much cultural activities they provide for you. But what I'd love to hear is, of the stuff that they provided for you, which ones did you find were the most important to you, felt the most important to you this school year, now that you guys are back in person?
So we had our workshop. It's like a week-long camp, and what we did a lot of hands-on activities. we did like the fish pond. We did what else did we do? The Loi. We went to Papa. That was Papanana's, right?
Yeah, Aquaponics.
And then we did all kind of stuff. So it kind of kept us kind of grounded and to learn what our ancestors did, what our kapuna did, and it connected us because we're actually putting our hands into the soil. We're connecting with the Aina. We're learning about them and also with their same protocol. Some of us, we never really did practice learning how to speak Hawaiian, learn how to sing Hawaiian, none of that. So entering this class, you kind of get a gist and learning how to do your protocol, how to chant, like learn the specs of when you chant, like take your hats off, put your hands to the side. So you kind of really just get the gist of what your ancestors and your kapuna did.
Adding on to what Princess said is I really think that the cultural practices that we have gone through in this class really gave most of us a sense of identity due to the fact that, like she said, we were able to learn how to speak Hawaiian, how to sing in Hawaiian, and getting to learn the importance behind all of the science that our ancestors did that kept Hawaii.
Yeah.
Some other culture activities that we did, as Princess said in the workshop, was removing invasive species and the fish ponds, and that one felt the most important to me, and only because like we all came together as one, was working together as a team, and I really felt like, wow, we're really doing this all together. Everyone was working hands on, and nobody was. Well, we was tired, but like it was a great opportunity for us to do that.
Yeah, I felt more connected to the fish pond one too because we was actually doing like we was pulling the what is it? The thing out of the
Oh, the invasive
so
grass.
yeah,
Invasive seagrass.
and it was fun. That's it.
Awesome. I love that. You guys may not remember, but I joined you on this.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
the first day, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there. So I know it happened. Audience members, this is real stuff. This really happened. So for our teachers, what is your guys' approach, would you say, to ensuring students of a variety of backgrounds are able to access a future career in marine science if they choose?
I think we've touched a little bit on it. Like what Tay said about making sure our panel is made up of a diverse group of people.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of folks that we know who help us out, they're white men in marine science, and that's normal. Like that's kind of like the span of when students get into school. So specifically reaching out to folks. Our final panel was 3 out of 4 are Native Hawaiian, 2 out of 4 are women. Our friend Jason from DAR is Black. So there's like a variety. Anyone who might not have seen themselves as we did visits could see themselves in the panel. I think we know that our kids have a learning gap in science in our community, that science is consistently the lowest score on any standardized test from elementary all the way through high school. And it's not because they're not science minded. It's not because they're not scientific. It's that lack of comfort with the vocabulary, with what some of the more technical things are, and thinking that they don't know it, rather than seeing how it's connected to real life. So I think for us, building that real life connection and having them realize like you can learn these crazy vocabulary, these hard words, these concepts that seem really confusing, because we're going to break it down for you. We're going to show you. If you get a new concept, you can learn that too, same way you learn this one. So I think providing them those experiences to gain confidence in science, and then also to see themselves reflected in scientists in the marine science field, and know that if it's something they're interested in, there are absolutely people who have already done it, and there are avenues that they can take, and that they do have the skill set, they've learned it. They're learning it in school. They just have to continue to apply it the way that they have been in high school.
And I think another aspect that's really important is that we try to expose them that marine science is a huge field.
Yep.
There's so many different types of jobs in that field that, you know, they can find an aspect that is interesting to them. The other thing that I really liked about our panel is all of the panelists came from very diverse backgrounds. The Marines, they didn't just go, I know my goal, I'm going 4 years, here's my job. They had multiple other jobs, and their paths kind of twisted and turned.
Mhm.
And it really helped the kids to see that you don't have to go to college and have an end goal in mind that you're going to go to and get there directly. There's a many ways to find a path to your career. The most important thing is that you always are taking positive steps forward.
Yeah, and it's just the more we diversify in the things that we do, the more foots in the doors that we'll be able to get for our students. So the creation of the hatchery is going to be a really big. It's pretty much going to be the hatcheries and even growing algae is the future of the aquaculture industry right now. They're seeing a real boom in that direction of feeding plants and animals for grow out. So that's a type of things. As we diversify and as we get more established in that, we'll be able to actually have our students leave with really specific experience that they can actually take and be a manager at a hatchery or be a technician there. So really kind of higher paying technical jobs are waiting just around the corner. So the more we diversify, the more also our students will be more diverse in knowledge. And to kind of also circumvent the question, um, they won't always go into a career of marine science, but we make sure that the stuff that we do. So you heard Princess, she's interested in becoming a teacher. I don't know why. That's like a crazy idea, but she wants to be a teacher. And we do a lot of community outreach. We bring groups on campus. And Princess got a little taste. She got to come outside and meet our intermediate group from Nanakuli a few weeks ago or last week. So giving them the type of experience. A lot of our students, alumni, have gone on to jobs in the healthcare field because a lot of the technical work we do with water quality is applicable. And so, yeah, it's ideal if they would end up in a career in marine science. We'd love that, and we'd love for them to come back. But if not, we want to make sure we're putting in those work-based skills that they can still take with them to college, to any other career, and still be it applicable. So that's just kind of how we see it too. It's like, okay, maybe you're not going to be the next Jacques Cousteau, but you can still get a good job and have a good career, and also have something to fall back on if not. And even being able to feed your family is a big one. Yeah, just being able to have more experience of utilizing aquaponics is just so huge, and I'm so glad. Like Izzy, that was her project, is creating an aquaponics out of just some stuff that you can buy at City Mill. Yeah, so she has that knowledge now that she can take with her, and that's just kind of the stuff. Like along the way, it would be great if they're in the field, but if not, you can take these tools with you to anywhere you're gonna go, and that's really the goal that we have.
So speaking of taking these tools anywhere you want to go, I'm just going to combine maybe kind of two thought questions here, because it sounds like already within our student panel we've got some differing paths after high school. So I'd love to ask you, students, what are your thoughts around a future career in marine science since you've been in the program, and or what are your post-high school plans?
Us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I got accepted into Grand Canyon University. I'll be majoring in Bachelor's of Science for elementary teaching. I want to work with when I come back home. I want to work with my community because, as you can see, like them, they work with who they've seen grow up. Like they've seen all these children around Waiʻanae. Like our community is so small, so it's like everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've always been picked to be the down people, to be the low people. But I feel like when you come from that community and then you grow up and then you want to come back to your community and help them grow as what you did. You want to help them become successful. So I feel like, you know, everything's always better when you come back to your community. This is your question.
Okay, so personally, I do not see myself getting a career in marine science, but what I would like to do is further my education on ocean topics such as like sea life tracking. I would like to study whales and their like migration travels and all of that,
Wavelength.
and wavelengths. But I want to pursue a career in real estate and preferably oceanside since I'm used to being around water. And yeah, I think ocean properties are the way to go.
As much as I love this marine science program, this is not like something I would do in the future. I mean, it's one of my interests.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my interests. I enjoyed, working with others, working hands-on. Um, Although I'm gonna be like doing something around computer science, that's mainly like my career path that I want to go in. So yeah.
I don't really see anything in marine science, but like what does interest me is like Lo'i and stuff, like Hawaiian things. I mean, I guess they're similar to each other. But yeah.
It sounds like for each of you, though, even though you learned a lot from this program and you realize what works for you and what doesn't work for you, it sounds like each of you probably do have some kind of post-secondary journey. So maybe that's college, maybe that's the real estate credential, but it sounds like your educational journey doesn't stop here. And do you feel that kind of being in this program has made you more open to that idea that even though you finish high school, like you still have a little bit more learning to do?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I feel like this class put so many questions into my head that I want to find out for myself.
Yeah, it kind of makes us scared of our future because it's like, oh my goodness, now we have to focus on this, this, and this.
But what I did like from this class is the amount of numbers we had to like memorize and use.
Yeah, all the qualities.
Brain training, all that brain training.
Yeah.
So thinking about this school year, as your teachers mentioned, your junior year was virtual, but your senior year, you guys were lucky enough to be in person. So just thinking about this school year or even last school year, how do you feel COVID kind of impacted your experience as a student in the program?
I feel like COVID impacted all of us as students because we weren't able to have as much experience in the facility as the years before us because of the guidelines and how much students were allowed on campus. And we just weren't able to have that like quick start jump to our projects and understanding more about like the program itself.
Yeah. So when COVID was hitting and we was all virtual, there could be some of us to come in and learn about our facility, and there was only like about a handful, about 5 people, and not even all of them would come every once a week because I know I did not. But I feel like it affected a lot of us, and we wasn't able to connect with the seniors back then. And we didn't have like a gist of like what they went through and how they had connected their life skills to in school. And I feel like and juniors now, I feel like they have such like a better support system.
They have like a one up because
Yeah, because
they're
we
more
were doing
experienced.
this big project and we weren't in school to learn. We were in school to like ask more questions. So I feel like they have a better opportunity than us. They can brush off of us and what we've been through. And I feel like it's just a better opportunity to have 2 years. And it's fun. It's enjoyable. You always want to come to school.
I heard the in the background. Okay, so we do have a few audience related questions. The first one, this is probably directed more towards the teachers. So the question well, the question was written as why the sub-ski method and not another method, but feel free to interpret this in a way that works for you guys.
Well, I think for us, we already had a strong program. Like for 30 years, the Learning Center has been around.
Yeah.
Tyson and I got those hands-on experiences. We got to have the cultural experiences. But I really feel like our generation went through leaving Waiʻanae High School, going to college, and then experiencing that kind of shock of, hey, I was a straight A student in high school. Why am I struggling with these college classes? Or I thought I loved marine science, but I hate bio 171 and chemistry. Like, I don't want to do that. So we already kind of experienced some of those stumbling blocks that now we know our students are experiencing. So having Stupski has just helped us take that knowledge and our experience and think more critically about how are we preparing our students, because even if they don't become future scientists, we want them to have a plan. We want them to come back to our community and help our community, like Princess was talking about. Like, that's really huge for us. So I think what Stupski has allowed us to do, or like helped us do, is take what we were already doing and just kind of focus it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are plenty of other methods or other questions to ask as to how we can better support our students. I think we always, when we counsel our students and we talk to our students, we don't tell them college is the only way, four-year university is the only way. That's like the last thing we would want them to think. We try to support them in, if you're strong at this, if you want X, Y, or Z job, what's the skill set? Like, how much more work is it to get a higher paying one using that same skill set? You know, what are some options you might have? You could start at a 2-year and then get into the career, see if you like it, go to a 4-year, or get a certification and start making good money right away. That's totally, like, we support them in whatever pathway they see for themselves, not just pushing them into a college pipeline and hoping they end up with at least a bachelor's.
Yeah.
I think their pay outcomes would be much higher, but there are also trade and technical outcomes that are just as high. And if the student says they're interested in that, we don't say to them, oh, that's not good. We kind of support them in saying, okay, how do you get there? You can just walk into that job, or you have to do some kind of preparation. Is there a test you have to take?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what Stupski has allowed us to consider and focus more on.
Yeah, and I can attest to that in our work together. I think when we first started working together, we were really examining just all the strengths of your program. But I mean, you guys know, and we know, even from our last conversation. So they are being so modest. Like, they're already thinking ahead. How do we integrate more college level math in our courses? Like, they're setting up conversations with professors at the UH system. They are really trying to incorporate 10-year planning and really getting kids to think, what is my journey like after high school? Because I think a lot of times in Hawaii, you know, high school graduation is such a big deal. I mean, I graduated from Campbell. It was a big deal. And we had doves flying. It was a whole thing. But I think a lot of times we forget that, like, okay, I graduated high school, but now what? You know, what do I do? So I can really tell just from our work together, the transformation of the conversations beyond like, okay, here's what we're doing good in our program, to here's how we help kids think critically about where they are now and where they want to be and kind of those steps in between to get there. Here's another question from the audience, and this one's for the students. And the question itself says, what improvements or changes would you recommend for this marine science program? And they've listed a few different examples, but I would love to hear what you guys just think.
Some changes would be.
It's a good question.
Yeah, that actually is a really good question, because I mean, our class is so like good already.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
well planned.
Yeah.
But we ask you that question all the time. What would you do differently about what we did, or what's something we didn't do that you guys wish we did?
Oh, for us,
The beginning of the year.
the beginning of the year camp.
Yeah, that was out of our.
Yeah. Like, because the juniors now, they have such a good opportunity of having a camp, and then they're gonna have like the CCC building come in and talk to them. We never had that.
And
It
I
was on
feel
our
like
own.
we didn't bond with them until that camp.
Yeah. We didn't have that connection that we would have had if we had the camp.
Yeah. So normally what we do is we will take the students as a very opening activity within the first month of the year. We take the students on a 3-day team building retreat where we divide them into team mixed juniors and seniors. We choose a very isolated campsite where there's no phone reception and, you know, so we can have 100% attention. And we do a full range of activities that are all competition based. And we try to design it so some are academic, some are are constructing, some are athletic, relays, just fun, different variety of activities, which allows all of the different types of kids that we have to find an area that they can shine in. And so the kids get to see their strength, the kids that they may not know, that they may identify, oh, this is a nerd or this is a jock. And it kind of takes them out of that picture of each other and gets them to really see who each individual kid is and what their strengths are. And they also get to see the same thing in their teachers, because they, we're with them. We're up at 6 in the morning. We're up until 11 o'clock at night. We're eating our meals together. And so we really get to know each other on a very, very close level. And that kind of like lays the groundwork and forms the beginning of the ohana that we become by the end of the year.
So I would say your guys' improvements is incorporate the bonding earlier, because you guys didn't really get to experience that this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we had one, but in the beginning, how we did the spoon thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same.
Or
No.
even the online one when we had to make our banner.
Yeah.
So we've tried to incorporate those same activities, but there's just nothing quite like the actual physical taking of the students off campus and putting them together and having them work together and in fun things and get to know each other.
I don't see any additional. Oh, go ahead. No, I'm talking to myself. I'm hearing my own self. Like, I don't have any additional questions from the audience. So, do you guys have any final thoughts that you would like other programs to know? I mean, what I keep hearing is relationships, 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 and then other things will fall into place. Focus, intention, and relationships.
So any closing thoughts? Anything you would want to suggest? If other teachers wanted to do a program like ours or something like that, what would be the things that you guys think?
I feel like understanding your students is a very strong tribute to help a program grow.
Yeah, just being open-minded to your students and how whatever issues they'd want to address. I feel like they really did that very well on making us feel comfortable. And
yeah, and you need some hardworking students. We have, I'm not gonna lie, we do have some students. This is like, come on. But then, this generation coming up, you just gotta work harder. Honestly.
Well, and I do really think that COVID and not having the beginning of the year team building has impacted this year. I think we would have had a totally different dynamic if we had been able to do that.
Yeah, to add on to that, I would say, nobody's immune to all of those obstacles that COVID is still presenting today. And, if you're feeling a kind of like a stress or like a strangle on your classroom culture, just know that even here at Marine Science Learning Center with a 30-year program, we've experienced those similar. It's not all good, right? Like it's not have been all easy and good of what you guys are hearing. We've struggled with attendance. We've struggled with getting students back. Believe it or not, we've planned several of these really hands-on events and had, 2 or 3 field trip forms returned out of a class of 40. So we have been also facing those things that COVID has kind of like have a stronghold, and we're working our best to kind of break them and just keep on pressing on and trying to improve and trying, like Katie said, for the early college, we cannot assume that kids know, okay, class is every Tuesday. I got to come 10 minutes before class every Tuesday. That's a skill now that we have to actively instill in the kids again. And that may have not been the case pre-COVID. These 4 behind you, I mean, if this were online, probably only Izzy's camera would be on. Yeah. So these guys, even themselves, have grown a lot since COVID. And I'm just so grateful to have them back here behind us. And it's just, I've told them before, I appreciate them coming out here because they're the real testament to how you overcome those obstacles. If you keep pressing, this is the end result. You get these guys. And I know that for you guys, the audience members and you teachers and your educators out there, there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's worth it. It's worth it. Keep pressing and keep pushing on. And then that's what we have here.
Yeah, I think for this program, the advice to people who want to initiate programs like this, I love what they said, consider your students, like put your students first. As a teacher, it's really easy to say, they got to know this. This is important. Mm-hmm. But if they don't believe it, they're not going to take it. So yes, the relationships, yes, knowing your students. And also, it's a ton of work. Like it is so much extra work on top of like a regular classroom. It's so much extra work. But they asked me the other day, do I like being a teacher? And I said, if I was in a typical classroom, like a regular English classroom where I started the school day, with them at 7:30, and then I was done at 2:30. I didn't have any of this extra stuff, I probably would have quit a while ago. I would have just not had the engagement and the want to do it. But because I can see them shine in so many ways, and I'm not limited to four walls of a classroom, I think that as a teacher, it's super rewarding and it's super engaging and fun to do. Like, I like coming to work. I mean, everybody wants to stay home sometimes, but I actually enjoy coming to work every day. I have things like, okay, I'm going to get this done. We're going to plan this. We're going to do that. And it's all because we not just get to work with them, but we get to work with them in this context where I know they're having good educational experiences.
Yep.
I'm not trying to plan something fun and they all hate it. It's like really they're getting into it and getting deeper in knowing themselves, in knowing each other, and in knowing the content. So I think that that's really key.
Yeah, and I feel like what you guys don't know, and that we're like learning, you guys help us learn, you guys like learning as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Anyone else want to add anything or say any final thoughts about it?
Yeah. Not just saying this because I'm in the program, but they're really like amazing teachers. They provide more than what they can do. Like, they stay after school if you need help. They provide whatever you need. They'll have it. As Katie said, Miss Kealoha said, she enjoys coming to work as well as me. I enjoy coming to school, especially for this classroom. Especially for both periods. I like asking a lot of questions, them not knowing the answers sometimes. But yeah, I really enjoy this program, teachers, students, everyone.
Yeah, and it's also different from other classrooms. 'Cause, like, you have your career path and then you have your English path. But then you have your career and your English together in one.
Mhm.
And then you also are the juniors, so then there's more fun and you get to connect with more people.
Yeah.
Overall, good experience.
Thank you all so much for sharing. We are out of time, so I'm just going to close this up. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, students.
Thank you, guys.
For us today. I'm going to need that overlay, Stacy. So for all of our audience members, thank you all for joining us at the Pathways Summit for this special presentation of the Waiʻanae Marine Science program. We'd like to remind everyone that this presentation has been recorded and will be posted on the event website. I apologize deeply that the live captioning did not work, but I can assure you that when the recording is posted, captions will be available so that our event is always ADA accessible. We would love for you to complete this optional anonymous survey. You can either complete the survey by clicking on the link in the chat or by utilizing the QR code seen here on the screen. The link in the chat will be forthcoming in a second. But otherwise, thank you. And this should be the ending of the Pathways Summit in general. Please stay tuned. You will be receiving an email from us in a couple of weeks when the recordings are up so that you can catch the other amazing presentation that happened at the same time about Pearl City High School's Academy program. Have a wonderful afternoon and happy almost summer.